Hey, Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Yeah, cheeky so-and-so. Much love, guys. Now, this story comes from Key Salamander 5906 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. It does have a couple of updates as well, and it's titled Am I the Arsehole Here for giving my wife an ultimatum. I, 35 male, have been married to my wife, 37 female, for 7 years, and we were together another 3 before that. We had a daughter, 5 female. On the outside, our marriage appears to be perfect. She and I own a nice house with a good school district, have a great kid, and both work full time. Her job requires her to do some travel and wants her in the office 3 days a week. My job does not pay as well, but I work completely remote and spend a lot of time taking my daughter to soccer or doctor's appointments, as well as keeping up around the house. Before anyone asks, this is not a weight gain issue. I'm active and fit, and my wife is the same. For the past 4 years or so, my wife has basically shown no interest in our marriage and acts more like my roommate than partner. We have basically no romance or intimacy. When I say intimacy, I know some people will jump to sex, but to me, intimacy means acting like a couple. Hand-holding, kisses, cuddling, and obviously sex. None of those are really things my wife wants to do, and makes it painfully obvious that she isn't interested. Before, she and I were very much an amazing couple. My wife also shows no interest in my life. She's forgotten important events like our anniversary and my birthday. Our last anniversary, she said she needed to cancel the dinner plans I made for the two of us because she had to work late on a Friday and travel for work the following week. I brought this up to my therapist, who suggested couples therapy and is willing to give some recommendations. I brought this up to my wife, who immediately shut it down, saying, "There's nothing wrong with me. I don't need therapy." I have made multiple suggestions to her for how we can possibly improve our relationship. Family vacation? Our daughter won't appreciate it. I don't see what 5-year-old wouldn't want to go on the beach for a couple of days, but maybe I'm wrong. A romantic getaway for just her and I? No, I'm too busy at work. Or can't we just spend time together at home? Taking our daughter on a bike ride and going out to lunch on a weekend. I just want to relax. So I gave up trying to initiate anything with her and recently began looking for an out. I watched my parents in a failing marriage for a decade and don't want to put my child through that. I talked to a lawyer and got papers ready and can buy a condo in town. Keep our daughter in the same school district with her friends, since I can't afford our house by myself. I recently confronted my wife when our daughter was at a playdate. I told her that I am seriously considering leaving her since I feel as though I don't matter to her and our relationship is never a priority to her. I told her I have an exit plan, and if she doesn't make changes by the new year, I'm going to file for divorce and full custody. She and I got into a big fight where she basically told me I was manipulative and an arsehole for blindsiding her like that. I told her that none of this would be an issue if she cared about us, or at least pretended to. I told her I don't want our daughter to see how unhealthy our relationship is. All of this happened yesterday. So Reddit, am I the arsehole here for what I said to my wife and our argument after? Edit. I have brought up my concerns about our marriage to her multiple times. Things usually improve for a short while, but are quickly back to the status quo in a week or two. Usually when we see someone give an ultimatum, it's never a good time to do it because ultimatums rarely work, but I just feel like you're left with very little choice in this. It says that you've tried asking about therapy, you've tried talking about it multiple times. I don't know where else you could go. And of course, one of your lines there jumped out to me, that you don't want your child to see an unhealthy relationship. Cat and Name only says, partner 1, screaming into the void about relationship problems for years, needs not being met, etc. Partner 2 says, I feel so blindsided by this, Pikachu face. Maybe if partner 2 actually cared or listened, they would have not feel blindsided. They chose to ignore. C says, I'm sorry to say this, but your wife doesn't care. The first thing she said to you once you mentioned about ending it, she said, I was manipulative and an arsehole for blindsiding her like that. First off, you didn't blindside her. You mentioned it to her and she didn't want to listen. Secondly, you also asked about couples therapy and she dismissed you. Every time you try something, she doesn't want to know. She doesn't seem to care about you or your daughter. She doesn't care about your anniversary or your birthdays. She does not seem to care at all. You are the one that is being there for your daughter and spending quality time. Are you sure she's not having an affair? Personally, I wouldn't wait until the end of the year. I'd go ASAP. Holdsbone says, if you have already decided to go to a lawyer and file on Monday, don't do anything abnormal today. Don't say anything about the relationship. Don't beg, cajole, threaten, or rant. Don't make any snippy comments. Don't act extra sweet and kind. Just carry about your normal Sunday and act like the conversation never happened. Then just go and do it. Humanity is bizarre and says your wife has checked out of the marriage and is probably just shocked that you still care about anything and demand to be anything other than roommates. It's one of three things. She's fallen out of love but is sticking around for your kids/financial reasons. 2. She's defined herself as asexual and has no requirements for intimacy. Or 3. She's been using the nights out with the girls as a cover for having an affair, hence the complete lack of care and intimacy as she's getting it elsewhere. One more comment from a lifelong listener who says you haven't told us whether she's a decent mother. If she is, do not file for full custody. File for 50-50 placement, and do your best to build a civil relationship with your ex. She will no longer be your wife, she'll be your co-parent. Get out of the marriage, but put your daughter's needs at the top of your priority list. Unless the woman is abusive or neglectful, that little girl will benefit the most from having both a mother and father actively involved in her life. I got divorced 13 years ago when my daughter was 3, and her father and I get along really well, share placement, and our kid is happy and thriving. It's not divorce per se that damages kids, it's conflict. Kids need both parents whenever possible, for the best chance at a happy and well-adjusted life. Kiss your marriage goodbye, grieve about it, but don't make the divorce nastier than it needs to be. Be calm, kind, rational, and do not squabble over money. Take the high road. Everyone will be better for it later on. You are not the arsehole yet. Don't become one. Opie says, she's a decent mother. She doesn't do as much work for our daughter, but she's not neglectful. Maybe the custody was a bit of an arsehole move, but I was angry and frustrated when we talked. I do not want to deny my daughter the chance to have a mum who will be able to have insights into growing up that I do not. So Opie comes in with their first update and says, hi everyone. First of all, thank you for all your replies and messages. I received a ton and haven't been able to reply to them all. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, unfortunately. My marriage is over, and after talking to my wife, I realized it has been for a long time. The day after my post, I began the divorce process with my lawyer. Everyone who said I was an arsehole for saying I was going to get full custody, that is true. I was angry, frustrated, and said something I shouldn't have. We're going to split custody, with me having the weekdays and my wife having weekends. That said, everyone who said she was cheating, congratulations, you were right. She's been for around 4 years now, which is about the time she started withdrawing from our marriage. She has been cheating with this co-worker because she felt like she was not attractive after having a child, and I was busy with work and childcare. More recently, she has begun to develop feelings for him and was considering leaving me for him, which she is free to do now. When I gave her the ultimatum, she was surprised that I was considering leaving her and thought I knew about her affair at the time. We sat our daughter down and explained that we are splitting up, but we both love her more than anything. My daughter was understandably upset and is having a tough time. I am looking into therapy options for my daughter and told her that she can always tell me how she is feeling. This is the hardest part of everything so far. My wife and I are going to be geographically close. I'm going to be moving into a condo in early January, and my wife is going to move in with a co-worker about 15 minutes away. With the sale of our house, I will be able to pay off a large portion of my new home. According to the lawyer, we can have everything wrapped up by New Year's if it goes smoothly, but with the holidays, I'll be happy with early January. In the meantime, I'm going to start rebuilding my life. I did not get married with the intention of getting divorced, but here we are. I'm going to work on myself and my relationship with my daughter, starting with a vacation. I'm going to surprise her with a trip to Disney this winter. It will be expensive, but I really want to make her happy and create some happy memories. I'm going to miss her on weekends. Maybe one day I'll explain this all to her when she's an appropriate age, and we can talk about it more. In the meantime, I'm going to work on myself and try to be the best version of me that I can. I don't know what the future holds, but I guess I'll know eventually. And around 5 months later, OP updates again and says, "Hi everyone. I figured I'd give one final update. My divorce has been finalized and I feel exhausted and relieved. I'm looking forward to starting the next chapter of my life. This was the longest, close to 6 months of my life, and I'm happy it's over. I do feel a little empty, but that will pass eventually. My ex-wife dragged parts of it out more than needed, which was very frustrating. She ended up finding her own place, which she was not happy about. She's also pregnant, but neither of those are my problem. I have primary custody of our daughter. I get most weeknights and most weekends, plus travel. She and I are both doing well and adjusting to things a little bit. I'm working on myself still and think I have a long way to go. She is talking to a therapist who's helping her work through her emotions, and I tried to make the holiday special for her. I want to thank those of you who recommended support subreddits for infidelity. Reading a lot about similar situations has given me perspective on my situation. If anyone is going through a similar struggle, I understand what you're going through and hope you find the strength to do what you need to do." A couple of comments asking questions to OP. Roadkill says, "I thought ex-wife was moving in with her affair partner. Do you know what happened? It might affect your kid's relationship with her mum." OP says he wasn't super interested in raising a kid from the sounds of it. Dark Matter Black says, "Wait, he got her pregnant and left her? Lol. She's reaping what she sowed, so you focus on your little one and your life." OP says, "Well, presumably him, but I don't know and I don't care. Divorce proceedings had just wrapped up when I heard about it. But yeah, focusing on my daughter and myself is the plan." Wow, blown up your own marriage and for what in the end by the sounds of it. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, today's second story is a suggestion on our own subreddit, r/Mark Narrations, from Eatagel. Apologies if I got your name wrong there. And the story was from Educational Pick 368 and says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my husband that my stepdaughter can't return home until she pays my daughter back? I, 30 female, have a 14-year-old daughter, Leia. Married my husband, Mark, 46 male, 6 years ago. He has 2 children from a previous marriage, Koi, 16 male, and Coral, 14 female. Me and Mark have the kids full time, but his kids live with their mum for a few weeks during the summer. They moved into my lake house, which has 5 bedrooms. 2 of the bedrooms upstairs have bathrooms. My daughter had one of those rooms. But as the girls began high school, Coral began complaining about not having a bathroom and said it's unfair. Mark and Koi told her to stop complaining. Leia said it was fine and asked us if she could turn the basement into her room. I didn't like that idea, but she begged, so I agreed. Turns out my daughter wanted a room makeover, so this worked out. We give the kids an allowance and allowed them to get a work permit. Koi worked at an arcade and told the girls he could get them jobs. Coral refused to work, but Leia agreed. After 5 months of saving her allowance, she's able to buy everything she needed to redecorate. Coral never bothered to go down there because she believed it was full of spiders, but Koi was down there every day helping her. After a week, she completely transformed the basement. She invited everyone down and it was stunning. I didn't even know that computer towers could be clear. She looked so proud. Coral then screamed it wasn't fair and that she wanted the basement now. Everyone began yelling at her, but she began crying, and before we know it, she ran over to the computer and threw it on the ground. The glass shattered and one of the monitors fell to the floor, also breaking. My daughter cried. I explained to Mark that Coral has to pay for this. He said her emotions are just high and we'll get that situated when everything calms down. I ran to Coral and yelled, saying that she's on punishment. Mark didn't agree, but I didn't care. Coral was unnecessarily crying and ran to her mother's car. Koi was trying to help my daughter, and Mark tried to hand her $300, but Koi explained that Coral caused about $1,000 worth of damages. He said luckily the expensive pieces in the case were saved, but the case itself was about $450 and the monitor was $200. Mark explained that he doesn't have that kind of money. So I said she can't come back until my daughter's stuff is repaired, with a sincere apology. Koi agreed and Mark was upset, saying that he couldn't do that to his daughter. I told him to leave if that's the case. Mark left for a few hours and handed my daughter a check for $1,000. I explained that Coral can't come back if there is no punishment. My husband's ex-wife is saying that I'm banning her from our home because she didn't deserve that bigger space, and that we're treating Coral unfairly. I said she did that. There was nothing unfair about the situation. The ex just hung up. Now my husband's ex-in-laws are bombarding him with phone calls saying he's a horrible dad. His sister even said he's being a bad parent, and they're best friends, so it's really getting to him. This happened last night, and he hasn't gotten up yet. Should I apologize? Am I the arsehole here? I'm gonna start in the comments with The World is on Fire who says not the arsehole. Coral sounds like a spoiled brat, and Mark needs to realize that at 14, she should have a better handle on her emotions and throwing a tantrum because someone else has something nice that she wants. She absolutely should apologize for behaving like a toddler, and Mark needs to stop coddling his kid. At least the older brother seems to have a clue. Let him stew in his feelings. Maybe he'll get some insight into why his dismissive parenting isn't doing anyone any favors. Julia says not the arsehole. He could solve all of this by actually disciplining his kid and getting her therapy. I'm glad he paid your daughter back. That's what the law would do. A 14-year-old can't be made to pay anything, so it's the parent's responsibility. That's just not the end of it. By the way, he also needs to pay for a good lock on her room before his daughter is allowed back. Superflex says not the arsehole. So to be clear, first it wasn't fair that Leah had one of the upstairs bedrooms with an ensuite bath. I'm assuming that when the basement project got the green light, the natural outcome of that was going to be Coral moving into that bedroom. Second, Coral wanted nothing to do with the basement, didn't want the space, contributed no time, effort, or money to the work on it. And then when she saw the finished product, all of a sudden she wanted it, and it wasn't fair again. Third, Coral got shut down and in a fit of rage smashed Leah's custom PC and one of her monitors. Coral is a fucking entitled brat. I think you're on shaky ground with the concept of banning one of your stepchildren from your marital home, but punishment and restitution is 100% warranted. Night Salute says, I think you and your husband should attend therapy. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because he needs to hear from a non-family party that he's being a big dingus. And Coral just sounds spoiled. She was going to get the ensuite bedroom, and that wasn't good enough. I guess because her new bedroom wasn't going to be renovated because she didn't work for the money to renovate it. If yes, then Mark should understand that his little princess can't just behave however she likes, and that throwing a tantrum 10 years past the age of a toddler is neither nice nor acceptable. Personally, I don't think you should apologize. I don't think Leah did anything wrong. She didn't snatch the basement from Coral. The basement only became available because Leah worked on it. And what kind of lesson does it give if Coral can just whine and moan about stuff and then be handed stuff anyway? So the OP does come back in to update the post and says, I found out the complete story and there is a lot of drama. It's over a boy. So both my daughters are cheerleaders and it's Valentine's Day dance coming up. All of Coral's friends are cheerleaders and they all date football players except her. So for the past month, her friends have been trying to hook her up with Brad. But it turns out he's interested in Leah. After all the games, Brad talked with Leah. So Coral came up with a rumor that Leah plays Roblox. It's not really a rumor, but Brad found out. So after school a few days before the incident, Coral tells Brad about how childish Leah is for still playing Roblox. And Brad says he doesn't think it's childish. Turns out him and his friends play and they invited Leah to join them. Then yesterday after school in the hallway, Brad and his friends recorded this big proposal to the dance that included flowers and chocolate, and Leah accepted. Apparently Coral was crying at cheerleading practice and Leah went up to ask what's wrong and if she needs anything. Coral and her friends started cursing Leah out, so Leah just backed off. Then this morning Coral posted on Facebook about how Leah is the favourite child and that she was kicked out of her decorated bedroom in order for Leah to have it. Her mum, Drea, had also posted something similar. Coy didn't want to ruin Leah's reputation, so he posted everything about their lies. He also posted a picture of the shattered case, and explaining how everything Coral said was a lie and how Leah was nice enough to give up her bedroom. Drea also called us some horrible names, and Coy responded that the reason the custody is no longer 50-50 is because Drea's husband hates kids. Apparently Coral didn't know this, but Drea sent my husband a text saying he knows how her husband feels about kids being here. So he needs to make it up with her and let her come home. Mark then screenshot this and sent it to Coral, saying she came home and went straight to her room. She skipped practice. Leia is on her way, so when she gets home, we'll have a family meeting. Opie gives another update and says, so we had a long talk. Coral came down and apologized to Leia, and she was jealous about Brad. She also apologized to me for lying to her aunt. She believed that Leia got everything she asked for, so I had her explain, and the only thing she said was Brad. As I was about to explain, Mark stepped in and told her that wasn't everything. Mark then explained everything Coral got, which included a room makeover, which Leia had to pay for on her own, a brand new laptop after Leia had to pay for her entire computer setup. He then asked, is this really about a guy that she doesn't have anything in common with? Coral then told us how popular he was, and that because Leia is a nerd, they don't mesh. Other than cheerleading, Leia is in Quiz Bowl and Robot Making Club. Leia explained now that football was over, Brad was also in those clubs, and so were his friends, who the other cheerleaders date. Coral then began crying again because after the Facebook post, her friends explained that their boyfriends don't want to be involved with a liar and advised them to stop hanging out with her. So they didn't sit with her at lunch today. Mark calmly told her that was her own doing. She broke down and said, I know. Mark then held her in his arms and apologized about sending her the screenshot and explained that I wasn't the bad guy. He then explained that Drea told her that I forced Mark to get full custody so that we could all be one big happy family. So that, along with the Brad situation, made her lash out. She then ran to hug me, saying how sorry she was, and looked at Leia and apologized once again. I brought up family therapy and everyone agreed. Coral took the post down already and apologized to Leia publicly. I know things are looking up, but without friends and the situation with her mum, I'm not sure what's going to happen. And I'm glad that things at the very end of this were slightly talked out, or at least moving ever so slightly in the right direction. All the way through this story, I was like, what's going on? You know, because to be running up to someone's PC and just smashing it on the ground like that, it says there's something seriously going on in the background. And, you know, I'm not excusing the behavior because you can't excuse that kind of behavior, and somehow it needs to be dealt with in some way. Therapy sounds like the best way to hopefully get some of this stuff out. And I'm sure we've only just seen a little taster of what's going on in their lives. And, you know, who knows what's going through Coral's mind at that young age. Again, not excusing the behavior at all, but I do hope that she gets the help that she needs, because otherwise, like we say in many of these stories, the alternative is she carries on down this path and, you know, she just won't have a good future. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. I know I say it all the time, but I truly do appreciate that, taking the time out of your day to be here, to get involved, to comment down below, to show love to one another, to the stories as well. It is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.